following video contains spoilers for the Dwarven excavation quest in Dragons of Icespire Peak in the Essentials Kit. When the Essentials Kit came out, laden with content as it was, I needed to test it out against someone who had absolutely no familiarity with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and my dad and stepmom proved to be eager test subjects. Before the first session, I made both their characters for them, because they don't know how to make characters on their own yet. My dad, who's a music fan, got handed a human bard, whose name was Boris Clawmane, and my stepmom got a dwarven cleric named Amber Stoutheart. Filling in the gaps in party composition would prove easy with the included sidekick system introduced in the Essentials Kit, especially given that my stepmom was called away on an emergency right before the first session. Boris's companions wound up being the ambitious, awkward Donabella Fiasco, the taciturn Iverna Nightbreeze, and the ever-inebriated Pickled Pete. A group so overwhelmingly antisocial that it felt like a nice excuse to have them stay at the inn while Boris did all the talky bits in the town of Phandalin. For their first quest, the group decided to go on the Dwarven excavation quest, where they're tasked with, at first, warning a couple of dwarves of the nearby ice dragon, and then getting roped in to clear out the excavation site of the enemies that had scared these two dwarves off. The dungeon crawl for itself, for as new as my dad was to D&D 5th edition, it went reasonably well. Pickled Pete kept beefing his rolls, playing into the story Wizards of the Coast had written for us, him being a drunkard. Donabella had to have her subclass abruptly retconned from the attacker caster subclass to the healer subclass in the sidekick section because Boris, the only person who had healing up to that point, because Bard, went down in one hit. They fought a couple of ogre jellies, they explored the area, and they kept beefing their history checks to figure out that this excavation site was really a temple to Abathor, the avaricious, the dwarven god of greed. They found robes and a holy symbol to Abathor, but they didn't know what any of it meant. This would become relevant later on when the group reaches the final chamber, aka the Chamber of Greed. Finding the Chamber of Greed required a bit of metagaming on my dad's part. When he was totaling up the dungeon in his mind, I showed him the page in the book that had the map in it, but I covered up the bit that had the Chamber of Greed with my hand so he could tell that I was hiding something. He didn't really know what metagaming was, so I let him have it, and I decided to let him have it by having Donabella figure out that, okay, all this rope that's in this dungeon, if the only one we don't know where it goes is this one here in the back, this one must be the one we haven't seen yet. When they got there, they had to spend a whole day clearing it out, creating a sort of a sunk cost, if you will. My dad wasn't really willing to leave the Chamber of Greed without a treasure. In the chamber, there was nothing except two statues. One on the right side had been completely shattered, and on the left side, the statue there depicted a horned dwarf greedily looking at this gemstone. It's a very evil-looking dwarf. And Donabella, the one in the party with the highest intelligence, she rolled high enough on her Arcana check to realize that grabbing the gemstone would be a bad idea, but not specifically what would happen.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
Boris's Detect Magic spell read the statue as a single unique entity, giving a clue that the statue was generally bad juju because, as it turns out, you cannot get that gemstone. So I had to keep hinting at my dad, no, okay, there's nothing here, but he wouldn't have it. So he decided to knock the gemstone out of the statue's hand, which set off the trap, because he was still trying to get the gem, but the module didn't want him to have it. So the statue was rigged to explode whenever anyone tried to take the gem. So when my dad took it, in his admittedly roundabout way, he set off the trap, and the trap does 4d10 damage to a level 1 party. The entire party had to make dexterity saving throws. Pickled Pete and Boris were knocked unconscious. Iverna Nightbreeze was grievously injured. Donabella Fiasco was killed instantly, based on how instant death works in Dungeons & Dragons. So this left me, the DM, in a bit of a pickle. Would my dad be able to make it out of his first game? And if he did, would he, still want to play? Failure can turn someone off really quickly. By this point, my stepmom had gotten home, and I was struggling to figure out what to do. So what I figured out was I'd have the cleric that I'd made for her hear the trap go off, and then rush into the dungeon, into the back where the party was, and use her Cure Wounds spells to bring the unconscious people back. This way, the next session, I would have both Dad and my stepmom there as player characters. There'd be a conflict between Boris, Pickled Pete, and Averna Nightbreeze over his actions. There'd be room to continue without completely downplaying the consequences of what just happened. Next time, I'll share how the story of Boris Nightclaw and the Chamber of Greed shaked out in the end. Thank you, and have a nice day.